Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Ben Crossman, and everyone out there, I hope you're doing well. And also, of course, our co-host,
Carissa. Hi, guys.
Yeah, hey, how you doing? Let's just go ahead and get this out of the way. Carissa, how you doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's a bright and sunny, although you wouldn't know it because I have the studio here in a windowless pit, and I love it. But it's bright, sunny, everything's good. So yeah, I hope that you're doing well as well and ready for today's show.
I'm so ready.
Absolutely. So today on the program, second part of the show, we will have computer and technology news. That's where we try to bring you all of the latest, greatest, best tech stories, everything from policy to new releases, all that and more. You can find that at computeramerica.com. After the show, we'll have it in the show notes and you can see it there. But in the first part of the program, we have a guest. Yes, and our guest is going to be a company called XCINEX, and they make a product called The Venue, and we're going to talk about, you know, let's face it, a lot of us miss going to the movies. And I think that it has really opened our eyes with this pandemic that there has to be a way to have an alternative form of releasing movies. And even though pandemics aren't going to stick around forever, this whole thing will end. But at the same time, it shows that, just a one-size-fits-all approach doesn't really work. So we're going to talk about the venue, what it is, how it works, and how our guest is able to do this. But before we get to that, everyone, computeramerica.com, once again, that's where you'll find everything, including past shows, future shows, articles, reviews, show notes, podcasts, all that and more. You can find that on the website. We just have a review up of the Razer Akari, which, spoiler alert, is a mouse pad. But yeah, there's a lot of other reviews and a lot more. You can check that out there at our website. Find us on social media at Computer America. And Carissa, unless there's any other morning announcements, I think that's about it.
Well, it's also bright and sunny in Colorado, but that's all I got.
Absolutely. So that's good. And obviously I'm not even going to bring super volcanoes into this morning. Let's not put that energy out there. Everyone, let's go ahead and bring on our guest. And joining us today, as I said before, is XCINEX. That is the company behind this. And we have the CEO of the company, Mr. Cihan Atkin. And I'm really looking forward, Cihan Fuat Atkin, and he is the he's CEO of the company. Cihan, how you doing? Welcome on to Computer America.
Hey Ben, hi Carissa. Thanks for having me. Really excited to be on here and share what we're doing with your listeners and viewers. So I'm super excited. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely happy to have you on. Welcome. And let's go ahead and get a little bit of background. Let's talk about XCINEX and, kind of when was the company founded and what is your background? Have you always been in technology? Is your background in Hollywood? How did you get started with this whole thing?
Great question. I'm actually a total outsider. I'm a fan. I'm a movie buff. I love movies and the art of storytelling. I love entertainment. And originally, I was working in infrastructure, energy projects, bridges, tolls, toll roads, and things like that. A lot of projects in the Middle East. And then in 2012, I came up with this idea of like, why can't we watch this premium content that requires per person ticketing in the comfort of home? I have an 80-inch TV. I have surround sound. I have this, I have that. I've spent a
You
lot of
don't
money on
have
my
screaming kids and a sticky floor. Yeah.
yeah. So I was thinking to myself, like, hey, at the time, there was Xbox Connect, PlayStation Move was big. And so there were already systems in place that detected audience, right? They detected people. So I was thinking just, as a outsider, like, wouldn't it be cool to be able to just stream it to the home and pay per person? And in the early days, before I kind of jumped into the industry, I was a business major. So I kind of understood the business side of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Studios and people want to make sure that everyone's accounted for. They're selling tickets per person. They also kind of protect the content from illegally being distributed by having it in these theaters with people kind of watching over it. We get it. I get it. But in this new day and age, there has to be a way to expand the audience for the artists and give consumers what they want when it's relevant. So what we've done is we've created Venue, which is the ultimate streaming media player, and it has the infrastructure to be able to sell tickets per person for content being streamed on our proprietary app called Venue, which is a per ticketed streaming marketplace. But from the Venue player, you can easily access, as you can see, the HBO Max, Disney Plus, and all your other favorite streaming services. At
Mm-hmm.
the same time, you can do gaming through Stadia right through our player, and be able to do Zoom and Google Meet type of video conferencing. So it's really one system, one device to really encompass all windows of entertainment and then some. So we're really excited to bring this to product to market. In spring of 2021, we're getting ready to launch the pre-order campaign.
Mm-hmm.
We've done a soft launch for our early adopters and our followers, and now we're going to be opening it up for everybody. And we're very excited to be able to bring these stories and these awesome entertainment from all around the world directly to the consumer's living room.
So, and you gave a great overview, and of course we're going to really drill down and get some details. But I wanted you to kind of get into what is currently available out there and how things are currently done, because you said that you started this. You really started with this idea back in 2012. A lot has changed, and let's face it, this story had a certain angle to it because of everyone being in quarantine for so long that made it all the more relevant 7-8 years down the road of development. Talk about what's currently happening, and I wanted you to also speak about, like, let's take Disney Plus for instance, where they are selling blockbuster movies for the first run, because obviously they can't get into theaters. I think like Mulan is at like $30 $7 with the subscription, and of course anyone in the room can watch it, that kind of thing. How do you feel about that versus what you have to offer from a business standpoint and from a consumer standpoint?
Sure, great question. And before I jump into the answer to the question, let me just clarify. I started the company in 2012. In hindsight, it was probably not a good idea. I should have waited till I had more to do. I was really excited. I started the company, but we didn't really develop the product until like 2018. So between 2012 and 2018, it was just learning the industry, getting the IP, like the patents submitted,
Mm-hmm.
so we can have IP protection, and then trying to build a network and a team to be able to execute
I
on
gotcha.
the strategy. So in 2018, we actually started really developing the product. 2019 was a big year for us, and then February 2020 we unveiled it, and then we were hit with the pandemic. So
Right.
that's kind of the backstory. Now, to answer your great questions, currently, as theaters and arenas and these big stadiums are shuttered,
Mm-hmm.
studios, everyone is looking for different options and different avenues to access, reach their consumers. So let's just focus on studios. These guys that are making these movies, $200+ million budgets,
Yeah.
they really can't stream it on a one size fits all pay-per-view model, which is really a PVOD, right? And the reason why I think Universal took a stab at it was because, one, everyone's kind of captive at home. Kids are stuck at home. So like, why lose money? Why not make any money when I could put it out and make some money, right? So and if you can look at the movies they put out, Scoob, Trolls, they're more family oriented. Now, if this model was really something they believed would be the cure-all model for the industry, then you would see James Bond and F9 and everything else coming through the pipe on PVOD. And I personally would want to spend $20-$30 to watch James Bond with my family, right? It would everybody's kind of captive at home. The reason why they haven't done that is because it doesn't make business sense, right? It cannibalizes the exhibition business when it does open up, because if I can take a family of 4 to the movie theater and pay what 10 to 15 bucks a person versus just stay at home and pay 20 bucks, obviously I'm not going to go to the theater. I'm not very inclined unless, you know, I'm just super excited about that experience, right? So a lot of movies will lose money, and ultimately I think this is just a temporary band-aid that they're putting on the wound to be able to stop the hemorrhaging and at least get some consumers some movies to watch. But ultimately, as the theaters open back up, we think that there's going to be a shift. PVOD is going to go into the next window, and it might even be $50 per person.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not per person, but per session, right? Per rental.
Right.
But then we as venue would be complementary to the exhibition business to be able to sell tickets per person, whether you want to watch it in the theater or watch it at home. And the reason why we believe that we have a beautiful solution for this problem is because there are not enough theaters to service the demand of consumers, right? In our country, we have about 40,000 theaters. In other countries like India, with 1.2 billion people, they only have like very small fraction of the theaters we have. So there's always this bottleneck, this limited shelf space that we're dealing with when it comes to physical exhibition. So Venue's been designed specifically to expand that window and to get rid of the bottlenecks and limitations. So for the 45 million consumers living in rural America that have broadband, right? These are the 45 million people actually have broadband,
right?
But they're far from a theater or far from a city center where they can catch the next concert or the next comedy show. These people have money to spend. They have eyes, ears. They want to be a part of the entertainment, but they're being left out because there's no physical venues being built there. Right. At the same time, there are 16 million households with toddlers who have to figure out how to get a babysitter and that to catch a movie or a concert. There are 24 million handicapped individuals classified as severely handicapped. There are 49 million senior citizens, and there are 8.9 million students in student housing. So there are these huge pockets of the market that are deprived or sidelined from what's relevant and what's out. And we have a tool that can expand that marketplace. And what's great about it is our tool is designed such that the content owner controls it. So if you're the content owner or the licensed distributor of this content, you're able to go onto the platform, upload your content, create your campaign, set your ticket prices, regionalize where you want the stream to happen, where you want it to be blacked out, and get up to 95 to 100% of the ticket that you sell. So we're creating this really cool tool to be able to expand the audience. And I apologize for the truck driving by.
No, we completely understand. But yeah, it definitely sounds like there's a lot there with audiences. And one thing I wanted to kind of reiterate was the fact that there are a lot of hidden fees with going to the movie. There, you mentioned babysitter, and of course, maybe taking time off work, and snacks and food that you can't bring to the theater, things like that. Yeah, there's a lot of hidden fees that really go into really take even like a $10 movie ticket and bump it up to maybe a $50, $60, $70, $80 night out. So
yeah, totally. And so we think that there's a lot of movies, and of course we can't replicate the experience of a 100-foot screen and laser tuned surround sound. Maybe some people at home have that, but a lot of times you're not going to replicate that at home. So there's definitely movies that people are going to go out to see on IMAX or go see it in that experience. But again, it's about limited shelf space. You're going to go out this weekend to see movie X, but there's movie Y, Z, A, B, C, D, F that's available, and they don't really get to shine because that one movie is kind of stealing the spotlight. And we think that there's an opportunity where I may be able to go to IMAX and watch Avengers, but then I come home and maybe I watch a comedy or an action flick on my own time, with my friends, and not have to go through the hassle of catching a showtime.
Many times there have been instances where it's like, I don't want to see that in theaters, but I'll wait for it to come out on pay-per-view or one of the streaming services. I've heard that before.
Yeah, totally. I am wondering, how does the pay per viewer work? If, like, obviously it's a scannable device, so it sees the people in the room around you, but like how obviously the people are setting the prices for it, but how does that work? Do you just like, does it detect faces, or how does the technology work behind that system?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're just simply doing face detection. We're not doing facial recognition, so we don't actually tie up data points to your profile and and then kind of, it's a little bit too much, we think, as far as just keeping a head count. So what we do is we use machine vision and AI, and you can see in the middle there's like one simple optic camera.
Right.
Yeah.
And what that does is it uses machine vision and AI to just simply keep a head count. What we want to make sure is that if there's 10 people in the room, there's 10 tickets. We want to make sure that there's a clear accountability on who's purchasing what. And what's great is, like, if you have to leave, you can take your ticket with you and leave and come back in a different time, or resume from your home at your device to watch the movie. The movies are watched. The content's only one time through, so you can't rewind it to the beginning. You can only rewind 3 minutes any given time. But there's no window, so you don't have like 48 hours to watch it or you lose it. As long as it's on the platform, you've got a ticket that hasn't been fully used, you can watch the content. As the content gets to the point where it's going to come off the system, you'll start getting notifications if you have a ticket that hasn't been used for it. To, let's say it'll come off next week, and as the time gets shorter, you'll get notifications to tell you, 48 hours, 24 hours, and then it's off. So it's very like simple. It's super simple to use. You just create your profile, and then you log into the system with your profile, and then you just pick a content you want to watch. The ticket prices are there for you. You just, click purchase, and then it starts playing on demand. There's no hours of operation. There's no show times to catch. The only show times to catch would be for live events. So if there's like a live concert, then you have to kind of arrange your time for that. But again, there's the capability to watch pre-recorded concerts as well. So it's all up to the content creators, whether Taylor Swift wants to do a live concert and stream it, or she wants to tape it and put it on there. It'll be up to her. It'll be up to her to set ticket prices. But again, this is a way for her to reach millions of other fans that maybe would be, sidelined.
So, and I'm glad that you explained that. I was looking through, through some of the material, and it looks like, let's say if someone comes into the room halfway, or let's say, we tell all the kids to scatter, and, there's only one person in the room, you buy one ticket, and, and then everyone else comes back into the room at the point of purchase. It looks like you've thought of that. So can you explain how changing audience sizes work in this?
Absolutely. So it's actually just like a movie theater. So we don't really care who is doing what. We just care about number of tickets versus number of viewers. So let's say you bought one ticket and you told all the kids to scatter. And then after the movie started playing, you told them to come back in the room.
Right.
Well, if they're in the room for a set period of time, which is randomly picked by the system, so nobody can game it, they will be detected, and the message will pop up saying you have one ticket, but we're detecting more viewers. The device scans the viewing area throughout the entire stream. So you can't do that. So you can't just buy one ticket and then 5 minutes in have 10 people show up. As long as the movie's playing, the device is detecting the number of audience. We're also detecting recording devices. So if you set up a tripod and a camera and think you're going to be nice and smart and bootleg the movie, no, we're detecting for that as well. Again, there is also watermarking technology through our watermarking partners, Verimatrix, that allows us to be able to trace every single session back to the ticket holder. So if you were to somehow bootleg and share it online, we'll be able to trace it back to every single ticket holder for that session. So it creates this really cool traceability, and I believe it's going to create a community policing, where if my friends are at my house and they're going to try to be funny, I'm going to say, hey man, put your phone away, because like we're all a part of this session, and they could trace it back to me. Like we could all get in trouble. So like, don't do it. It creates that community policing, I think, in my mind. And again, if you're able to watch it in 4K and the day it comes out for a very affordable price, you're probably not going to try to go and bootleg it from some pirate site.
Right. Yeah. It's there have been a lot of studies about pirating, and you can definitely see that pirating goes down when there is an affordable, and B, a convenient way to watch something. The rate of pirating goes down tremendously. That's something that we definitely have heard of. But to the point where you were talking about scanning different faces throughout throughout the entire performance or movie, whatever's playing. have you given any consideration, and this is just the first thing that came to my mind, you've been developing this for years, so I'm sure that this is probably something you've thought of, but what if you just took like an average, and I'm assuming that you put some form of payment in, a credit card, debit card, whatever. What if you just took like an average of people in the room over the course of, the film, where, so if someone's just walking through the room, it doesn't accidentally tag you and, kind of pause the whole movie. What if instead it just said, on average, there were 3 people or 4 people in the room over the entire performance. We're going to charge you for 4 tickets.
Mm-hmm. So actually, it's not as sensitive as you just made it seem to be. So
Mm-hmm.
if you and I bought 2 tickets and we're watching a movie and Carissa walks in, it's not going to trigger right away. She has to be in the room with eyes on the TV for a set period of time for it to
Ah.
count her as a viewer. Now, if she's there for like a good couple minutes, eyes on the TV watching, and then it's going to stop it and say, hey, there's an additional viewer. But if Carissa's just walking through or doing laundry in the back or whatever, it's
standing
not
there
going
not facing the TV, then it's not going to notice me.
yeah, or if her back's turned to us and she's doing like homework on the desk behind us, it's
Right.
not going to count her as a viewer. So she's not going to have to buy a ticket.
Thank you for getting to that. It's a technology that I think people are going to be concerned about. And you also mentioned that you don't do facial recognition, simply kind of like detecting how many people are in the room. Which I guess from a privacy standpoint, I wanted you to, if you wanted to expand on any of the privacy-minded features that you've rolled into this product that you'd like to get into further detail with.
I was
absolutely.
wondering too. I'm sorry to cut you off. Can somebody like hack into that system as well? Would be my next question.
No. So I mean, the entire system is encrypted. It's an encrypted ecosystem. The images that are processed are deleted immediately. So the system just processes images and dumps them. There's no human interaction whatsoever with images. Also, the device, we're proud to say that we are the most secure connected device in your home, because one, again, the images are totally deleted. It's a fully encrypted ecosystem, and the device doesn't do facial recognition. There's no way for it to collect that data and tag it to your profile. It's just merely doing a head count. And speaking of privacy, like there's portals that have cameras that are flying off the shelves, which Facebook has developed. Almost every house has now Siri or some type of a voice recognition, a device. There's Ring cameras being, purchased left and right.
Mm-hmm.
There's a mirror workout system with a camera that you can work out in front of. So we feel like sensors are becoming very, very common in technology going into homes, and they're going to keep going. Our product is simply doing a head count. It's super light on the technology side. It's not really doing any kind of immense data collection. We're just doing a very simple head count to make sure tickets matches the number of viewers, and that's it. And also the device, so you can plug it, you can unplug it, or it has a little lens cap that you can put on if you when you're not using it. And again, it's a very small device. You could probably just lift it off the TV and throw it into a drawer when you're not using it. So up to the consumer, I guess, how they want to use it. But a lot of the consumers we've talked to and done surveys with don't mind it.
Right. Looking through a little bit more, I see that obviously here on the screen, if you're watching the video portion, there's $60, and that is like an early adoption thing. I'm sure that by the time it comes out, it will probably be, you can correct me, about $80, $79.99 or something like that. I'm sure you're thinking of. But this product, one-time fee, non-subscription, which is interesting to me because so many of the different services that you talked about, all the different streaming services, there's the Google Stadia that you can play through this thing, and so many more are subscription-based models. Why did you decide to go with, kind of you purchase the device and then everything else is included, or, yeah?
Well, yeah. So the device, when you purchase it, our device actually will stay around that price range. We're working very hard to keep it at the $60 price range, even when we roll out. The capabilities of the device are comparable to the Roku Ultra, which I think is priced around $100 as far as performance and capability.
Right.
On top of that, we have the optics and the microphone to be able to do Zoom calls through it, should you want. Now, the reason why we developed it this way is because for our app, since we're doing a per person ticketing premium streaming of content, there's no subscription or there's no hidden fees. However, if you have a subscription to Netflix or Disney Plus or any of the other streaming apps, instead of having to jump from our device to another device, we've designed it this way so you can seamlessly go from our app to any other app that you want. At the same time, you could, if you have a subscription to Stadia or Spotify, you can listen to music or play games, as well as doing the video conferencing with your friends and family. So in our minds, it was just a no-brainer. Create a player that exceeds the services and performances of what's out there, and then attach our proprietary app to it, marketplace, to really make it stand out and be something unique that nobody else can offer. So when you go and buy our device, it
Right.
gives you everything that a Roku or a Fire Stick might. On top of that, it gives you premium access to this ticketed entertainment.
Makes perfect sense. And I'm seeing some other things here that include, like, let's say streaming to a phone. I mean, that's something that I think a lot of people would be very eager to, because you can take all the different streaming services on mobile and you can do that kind of thing. But I guess so much of it is wrapped up into that camera, in the infrared camera. I'm assuming infrared camera, but yeah, so much of it is rolled into that. It's probably not for mobile at the moment.
At the moment, no, but we do have a mobile solution we're working on for the future, where it would use the phone's built-in front-facing camera to do a detection for smaller audiences, like if you're on the go or if you and like a buddy want to huddle up behind a phone or a tablet to watch, because we understand that on a phone or a tablet, you're not going to have 10 people, 15 people watching it. So it is a different solution, and that's not something we have available now.
Gotcha.
But in the future, we are looking for a solution for that.
So, and really, it sounds like you have, taken this not just for consumers. I'm sure that you've done lots of consumer testing, but I'm interested in kind of the industry. You say you've been making those connections. You've been going to studios and asking, what would you like to see in a product like this? How has the reception been? Because one of the largest groups out there that are advocating against a solution like this are the Motion Picture Association workers, and in movie theaters and things like that. Like they're trying to keep a death grip. And I know that you don't want to talk politics when it comes to movies, but how has the industry been receiving your product?
Yeah, great question. So I think overall the industry is very excited about our product. Some of the major studios that we've talked to have shown tremendous interest, but they haven't been able to vet the final product. So we're actually in the process of finishing the devices to get to them so they can do their vetting process on the security and all the bells and whistles that we've promised. So once that vetting process is finished, we see a lot of potential, positive momentum. But ultimately, this product is not just for Hollywood. It's for everybody from around the world that creates content, that are storytellers, that are artists, that are shakers and movers, that are influential people of society, that want to put on a concert, a seminar, a movie, anything. This device levels the playing field, because there's content being made from all over the world. In today's technology, with today's capabilities, you have a lot of awesome content coming from all around the world. Mm-hmm. And Hollywood doesn't really need advertising. Like Hollywood, everybody knows Hollywood. Hollywood is Hollywood, right? But there are so many amazing stories that are coming out of Europe and Africa and the Middle East and Asia that we're all disconnected from because of the limited shelf space in the physical realm of things. So what Venue does is it actually expands the window and creates a level playing field for independents and foreign studios and artists and comedians to be able to jump on, create content which they think will resonate, stream it on our device, and if they sell tickets, then they keep the lion's share of it, and we essentially add on a fee, just like Fandango or Atom Tickets would, onto what the ticket price is. So like a $10 ticket would really be like $11.25.
Gotcha. Oh, and I was hoping Carissa would kind of jump in there, but I think she's working on another question. One that I wanted to ask was about content. You mentioned content from so many different places, and to piggyback off that, if a movie has a $200 million budget, you probably don't need to screen it for, random inappropriate material. But, if you have content coming from all these different places, let's say hundreds of movies, thousands of performances that people can kind of choose from. And some of them, obviously live, and I don't think that you're going to really be responsible for split second censorship and, making sure that nothing inappropriate pops up on the screen or things like that. But I'm just talking about maybe pre-recorded content in particular. Do you have any kind of system in place to vet content that will be available through Venue?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, the content providers and content distributors have to come through us to create create their accounts.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually onboard them onto the system. So during that onboarding process, we do vet them and make sure that they are legitimate content creators or distributors. And a lot of the companies we're working with are world-renowned names like Yash Raj and Ramesh Films from India, and like
Mm-hmm.
Super Fight League, Super Boxing League. Asylum, Aldemisa. These are all major, content creators. Although they may not be your, big Hollywood names, these guys are professional content creators.
Gotcha.
So when we actually reach out, or when they reach out, either way, when we kind of connect with those content creators, we onboard them onto the system. We create their account. We give them a quick tutorial on how to use it. The system on the back end has been designed seamlessly to fit into their workflow. And what they do is they have full control of their campaigns, and they can start immediately. Putting content on the platform.
Gotcha. And Carissa?
Mine was actually a little bit more speculative. I was wondering, because obviously you've got your movie theaters and then now you're at home viewing. I'm wondering if having this available will actually bring down the cost of producing a movie in the future, because people aren't going to be going to so many theaters and they're not going to need as much resource to run all of that stuff. So I just don't know what you think about that.
Well, I think the movie theater experience is not going anywhere. I feel like the pandemic, yes, it's been hard on a lot of people in a lot of industries, but I think the art of telling the stories and that the experience of watching it in that big movie theater experience with a communal event, it's not going anywhere anytime soon. The theaters are opening back up slowly, and I think within the next several months, for sure by 2021, I feel like we'll have a handle on things, and studios and movie theaters will be back in full swing. What we like to say is we're going to be an extension of that. So with our product, we're actually going to be reaching out to exhibition, like movie theaters,
Mm-hmm.
asking them if they want to be a part of this and create a digital circuit. In the future, what we envision is for us to buy a ticket on Venue, but my AMC loyalty program is in sync. So then with the digital tickets I buy, get me points that I can redeem back at AMC or back at Lowe's or back at CINEMAX. So then what that does is it creates this ecosystem where the exhibitors win, the consumers win, and the industry wins. So ultimately what Venue will do is it'll create a lot bigger box office numbers. So like your movie that would make normally 100 million opening box office, when we're in millions and tens of millions of homes around the world, your opening box office weekend could be like a $500 million weekend. So at that point, everybody in the industry wins. Your producers, your actors, your studio, everybody wins, because the bottom line, the entire industry comes up, right? It elevates.
Yeah.
So that's the beauty of what Venue can do in the long run to the industry.
I can also see where Chris was kind of going with it, because some content is like direct to DVD and things like that, but maybe this would be even another way where if you don't want to spend the budget of producing it for theaters, but you wanted something a little bit kind of better, different, and produced for Venue instead, things like that. So
Give us more like indie films and stuff like that, lower budget things that don't need to cost as much, maybe.
Yeah, and some really cool art house movies as well, and live events. I mean, I always joke to the guys. I say, look, essentially, Kevin Hart could do a comedy special out of his backyard, stream it on Venue, and sell tickets, and people will buy it to watch a 45 an hour long comedy skit by Kevin Hart or by anybody, right? So it just, what this does is it gives the artists the tools to not have to be stuck, tied to the belly by somebody. There's no middleman in this. This is your essentially worldwide stage to be able to put on a show or a concert or a movie and maximize your first run window.
Gotcha. And Carissa, unless you unless you have any other questions, I think Cihan, we have really covered this, and I will say I think we've covered this pretty well. Are there any topics, areas, anything about the product that we haven't covered that you wanted to get in before we wrap this up?
The one thing I would say is we're looking to strategically align with companies that see the vision in this and would like to get into the distribution of the product, create a digital circuit. There's a rev share model that we'd like to present to potential interested parties that want to partner with us and help us distribute the product. This is, again, a stage for artists, for storytellers, to be able to expand their window when it's relevant. So we definitely want support from them. And that's pretty much it. Thank you all for helping us share the story and share our vision with everybody. And just visit, CINEX.com, XCINEX.com to get more information.
Absolutely.
And reach out to us via email or social media.
For sure, yeah. We'll have a link to that in the show notes up after this airs. It'll be over computeramerica.com. But of course, there's the website as well. And I got to say, this seems like a very, very tidy fit. This seems like a very nice fit with maybe your Charters, your AT&T is not really a thing anymore, but your Comcast, your average cable providers, because I know they have like pay-per-view, but this seems to be a step above and beyond even what they provide. So maybe a tie-in with them, which I'm sure you would entertain.
Absolutely.
There you go. So there you go, everyone. Once again, if you want to check that out, XCINEX.com, or head on over to Computer America and we'll have that right there. Cihan, until next time, and hey, we're looking forward to your launch in spring 2021 for the full-fledged thing. And yeah, be sure to keep us updated.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Carissa.
Thanks.
All right, have a great one. Thanks so much. Bye-bye. And everyone, we're going to go ahead and continue on with computer and technology news. And this is a segment, as we said before, completely dedicated to, computer and tech news. So we're going to go ahead and say bye to our guest, be very, very rude, and unfortunately remove him from the call. Sorry about that. Have a good one. And there we go. So, Carissa, I won't lie. It gives me a little bit of a rush of power. It goes straight to my head, and I love it when I kick people out. But
I don't blame you. It seems great.
There you go. Yeah, but no, that guest went very, very well, and I'm very happy with that segment. And so, Carissa, I think without further ado, unless again there's anything going on, if not, let's go ahead and do computer and technology news.
Let's do the news.
All right. Okay. So I have a couple of stories here, and I'm sure that you have a couple as well, but I think we're going to start with mine because I am feeling like the egomaniac that I am. And how about we talk about this one? This one I think would affect the most people. I haven't heard of the latest Netflix subscription numbers off the top of my head. They are at an all-time high because obviously of the, for the pandemic, but Netflix subscribers are doing very, very well. And this is a feature that everyone might actually, kind of enjoy. Netflix is bringing a very specific feature that I think so many people have always thought, why isn't that a thing? And the answer is, Netflix is testing a shuffle button because you're tired of picking what to watch. Carissa, I love this feature. I love this potential feature because I'm so tired of going, maybe not that. But the appeal of live television is that you just kind of have to turn it on, sit back and watch what they put on. If Netflix had this feature, oh my God, it would be so much better.
Absolutely. I'm honestly super excited about that too. That's really interesting because even if you have your list of stuff to watch, it's what do I watch? I'm not in the mood for that. I'm not in the mood for that. I've seen that already. It's
almost like having your music library in front of you, and it's here, pick your song every single time that you want to start, and it'll go through the same album, but it won't really shuffle what you watch. But then at the same time, it's if you just have a playlist, a shuffle playlist, you're much more likely to just hit playlist and skip the first song because it's always the same. But a random take it out of my hand solution is so much better, and I think this will bring a lot of value to Netflix. So to talk about the story, this is from The Verge. They say that Netflix is actually planning to bring a shuffle feature to its collection of streaming movies and television shows, letting you avoid yet another argument with your spouse. And they say that the company tells us it's actually been running the test since July. So, they have a couple of images here of what it could look like, and looks like you could actually shuffle by profile. So, instead of like in, maybe category or whatever, everything that you watch, all the algorithms that run through Netflix, and they know what you like to watch. Hey, if you're a documentary junkie, then it's going to play you probably some random documentaries. Now, the company is already testing a few potential ways, and they have things like play something variant that that someone may have watched before. They also have let's see. So going through this, the company tells us it's only available so far on TV devices and, well, not on Roku, as the author says. But they said that, let's see, it fired up an episode of Netflix's Umbrella Academy with the explanation because you watched Spider-Man. So I guess because they're both similar in superhero, there you go. It's, it'll kind of play things that are kind of related to one another, and it looks like, unfortunately, you can't set up like a playlist. It'll play things kind of automatically, which
is okay.
It's okay, but Carissa, I feel like it's going to be related to what you've watched before, so be careful with what you watch. I think everyone has at some point randomly watched that one thing that they had no interest in watching, but it will it will put something on that you've watched before, and then it will, of course, use its own algorithm to kind of say, it will probably be devoted a little bit more to its own devices, or not devices. I'm sorry, to its own programming. But yeah, it's coming. I really do think they're going to come out with this, and it's going to be pretty interesting. So, that is the first story, and I'm really hoping that Netflix does that. And the other one that I hope Netflix out there, if you're listening to this, let us set up channels. I don't know why that hasn't been a thing. Back when I was watching Netflix avidly, I would only watch like reruns of like Family Guy, Futurama, and cooking shows and documentaries. Like that was my thing. If I could somehow lump all the things that I normally watch, even though I've already seen it before, into its own quote unquote channel that I could just tune into, that would be so much better than even a randomized play button. But they're working on it, and it's pretty cool. So that's the first story.
Keeping up with what needs to be happening for the fact that people are watching more of it, and they've got more time to dedicate to TV shows and stuff like that. They need to be doing things like that to kind of make it easier for people.
Absolutely,
if they're going to stick around.
Absolutely. So our next story, if you're watching the video portion, we already have it pulled up. And this, Carissa, I think that this is a very interesting one that you've kind of picked up, because we've talked about Blackberry. It's been a couple of years. Blackberry kind of went out of, they had such a domination before iPhones and Apple. And I don't think if you were back in the day, it would not have been a stretch to say that if things played out a little bit differently, if Blackberry had come out with a few more innovations and really supported their products the way Apple did, Blackberry could have been what Apple is today. They had some of the best products out there, but unfortunately, last I heard about them, they had sold off most of their portfolio. They were essentially being gutted. They stopped making hardware, and they were, trying to shift into the operating system marketplace. But overall, Blackberry was kind of no more. Until, I guess, about 4 hours ago when the story was published by Christine Fisher, saying that Blackberry phones are back. Carissa, did you ever have a Blackberry?
I sure did. I had the cool little ball squirrely thing on it, and it was tons of fun and super interesting. I didn't use it back then because I was a teenager. I wasn't a CEO sending 1,000 emails or anything. I was just texting. But the keyboard was super cool, and the little ball was great, and the screen was big, and it was like the first smartphone just about. It had a few little apps, but there wasn't, anything like there is today. But it was a smartphone.
Yeah, you could really say that Apple took off because of the apps in the App Store and, kind of what they could do. But BlackBerry, you're right, they did have a lot of apps. And when it came to productivity and what you could do on a phone, before this, you had your Nokias and your traditional folding, flip phones, feature phones. The BlackBerry, I would say, I would agree with you, Carissa, was really the first smartphone for a lot of people. And it's unfortunately didn't catch on. So let's go ahead and talk about this real quick, and then we'll move on to our next story. But Blackberries, they're back apparently, and they say that obviously BlackBerry a few years ago seemed to be a thing of the past. Then TCL agreed to manufacture 2 BlackBerry branded phones. Well, in February, TCL decided not to renew the deal with BlackBerry, and this month it stopped selling the devices. Thanks to onward mobility, BlackBerry may get one more chance. And unfortunately, I think even one more chance is probably asking too much. I honestly, you look at the offerings of phones today, and between obviously Apple, Samsung, Google, who are making some of the best flagship phones, you are looking at LG and I think Nokia is making them under some Swedish brand or whatever. But anyways, and then there are tons of budget phones. I just feel like the market is so well well rounded that there's not really that need for a new product. But hey, BlackBerry can try. Onward Mobility CEO said, I'm sorry?
That they sure can try.
They sure can. And now the CEO says that the newest BlackBerry will be both sleek and secure, which it should be, because BlackBerry, that was probably one of the biggest blows to BlackBerry when their services got hacked. And like you said, Carissa, you may not have been a CEO of a Fortune 500 company sending out emails, but a lot of BlackBerry's customers were indeed in the corporate and private sector, and of course even in the government sector. And then when they had their data leak and they were compromised, their largest market share sector became quickly their smallest sector, and you just can't do that. So it seems that the licensing deals are the only way to get a new BlackBerry device. The last deal BlackBerry struck was with a hardware maker was in 2016 to release phones in India. For the title to say BlackBerry's back, I feel like that may be a bit of an exaggeration, but
Well, it's here. It's back. They're not saying it's good. It's just back.
That is very true. That I like the way you put that. That is very true. So with that being said, and I see that you have a ton of stories there, and I'm going to ask you to kind of pick one, but I'm going to pick one first, and then we'll choose the one that you choose. Let's talk about real quick. And actually just real quick, Internet Explorer is dead, everyone. If you didn't know, yesterday, Microsoft killed off Internet Explorer officially. August 17th, they are going to stop all support. The only support that will be left will be in corporate accounts. So like, let's say a large company still needs Internet Explorer because everything is tied into Internet Explorer. Microsoft will still support them. So it's 99.9% dead. For the average user, all Internet all Internet Explorer support is completely gone. So Internet Explorer died yesterday. RIP. Now,
we should have a parade in honor of Internet Explorer.
So, Carissa, from your understanding, why do you think people hated Internet Explorer?
Because it was slow and it was probably tracking you, among other things, that whatever Microsoft's doing on the back end. Mostly because it's slow.
If tracking was an issue, then Chrome would be dead in the water. Tracking was not the issue
anyway. So
the problem was that Internet Explorer had no forced updates, and people were using multiple iterations of Internet Explorer. So you had people, let's say your poor grandma who never really bothered. She thinks that Google is the internet. She never really bothered to update browsers. And so for Internet Explorer, there was Internet Explorer 5, 7, 9, 11, 10, 10.3. There were dozens of different versions of Internet Explorer, and web developers, they were the main ones who hate Internet Explorer. Web developers had to design for every single iteration of Internet Explorer, some of them a decade or more old. So, and it was very inefficient. You're right. It was slow. It was clunky. It did not display things in the same way that other browsers did. It was a pain in the butt. Like, I kid you not, billions in dollars in development time have been wasted over the years supporting all these different browsers. So you say yay to the death of Internet Explorer, and I think a lot of people agree with you. So Internet Explorer. But hey, it was really the first mainstream browser, so it's something to celebrate as well. Now,
That's true.
let's talk about some of these other stories. And
I just pulled one that's kind of related. It says Microsoft killed off Windows Update for Windows 2000, XP Vista, and 7.
Yeah, sure. Let's talk about that real quick because that happens. That actually happens pretty often. And let's see. So that was a support article, but we can go ahead and talk about that. Windows does this every now and again, and a lot of times they can be browbeaten. They can be like they always say, we're going to end support for X product, and really by X product I mean XP. XP tends to be the product that they no longer support. Well, it looks like they're even further into it, where Microsoft 2000, and I believe this is the security or SHA-1 based endpoints in 2020. That means older Windows devices that have not updated to SHA-2 will no longer receive updates through Windows Updates, and those older Windows devices can continue to use Windows Update by manually installing the update, and of course by enabling SHA-2. But what they mean by that is that Windows XP is not supportive of SHA-2. So that means that this is yet another nail in the coffin for a coffin that's already more nail than coffin at this point for Windows XP. So yeah, I think that Windows in particular, they're very happy to move on from old products because they spend a lot of money developing and keeping them around. So looking forward to that one as well. Let's do this one real quick. This is from The Guardian and actually about Facebook. Facebook, Chris, this is going to surprise you, is not really doing the best with their algorithm. They are actually funneling people towards COVID misinformation. And yeah, that's an issue. Saying that websites spreading misinformation about health, attracted nearly 500 million views on Facebook in April alone. Obviously, April was the beginning of the pandemic. That's when people were really starting to focus on it and looking for more information. That really at the time in April, because like we got put on lockdown in March, society grinded to a halt. So by April, when this wasn't like a 1 week thing, people were really looking for what's going on, what is the truth behind this, what can I do? Facebook garnered 500 million views to links that were spreading misinformation. Now, Facebook had promised to crack down on conspiracy theories and inaccurate news early on in the pandemic, but as its executives promised accountability, its algorithm appears to have fueled traffic to those false sites. Chris said the only thing I can really imagine why is that the algorithms prioritize momentum. If something's getting a lot of clicks, that must mean that whatever this link leads to is kind of newsworthy and people like it. So we're going to show it to more people and more people are going to like it and it's going to go viral. It looks like the algorithm took the momentum of that false information and it didn't really vet, is this information accurate? Is this something that should be spreading like that? And instead they just said, this information is getting a lot of traction. Let's keep it going. That seems to me what, kind of what happened there.
Well, I think it also has to come back down to, what people are advertising in as well. Let's say you've got some terrible group out there who wants to spread misinformation and they pay Facebook to put out these ads for this fake stuff. Yeah, the algorithms are reading it, but how did it get there in the first place? And then the other thing too is a lot of people are on Facebook to read news, like your grandma, your aunt, all these people that don't actually watch or read the news anywhere else. They get it all from Facebook. So everybody just kind of sinks into this Facebook black hole, and there's nobody looking at this stuff. It's just the AI, right? So if there was a person there looking at these things, it'd be like, hey, I can fact check that.
They promised,
but an AI might not do that.
They promised like 10,000 that they were going to hire like 10,000 people to fact check, but I think even 10,000 people looking at, what at one point I think they generated like 3.8 billion different views on Facebook over the last year. Like, 3.8 billion clicks, likes, whatever, versus 10,000 people. those numbers are not going to add up.
No, absolutely not. And they're not going to want to hire more people either, because that costs even more money on top of however much they're paying these 10,000 people to do that job. So that's not going to happen, because what's his name? Mark Zuckerberg.
Yep.
Wants to keep all of his money. So he's not concerned with the people's well-being. He's concerned with his pocket. It
has and to that point, I will also say that Zuckerberg has kind of come out, kind of for it. He unfortunately plays it off how I think it's best to play it off, but it's a very slimy way to kind of say it, where it's like, yes, we want to combat fake information. And they say that, we're going to hire fact checkers. We're going to make sure that, misinformation and bad stuff is taken down as fast as possible. But then they also kind of flip and say, but we're also a platform of free speech. We don't want to censor people. We want to, let people decide for themselves. And they take kind of like the free speech approach, which, obviously, going by this article here, 60 people in particular in India, I'm sorry, not in India, but 60 people went blind after drinking methanol, who they said was a cure for what?
I was giggling, sorry.
Yeah. Sadly, but yeah, they did. Drinking methanol, 12 people, including 5 children, became sick after drinking liquor made from a toxic seed datura, and as a cure for coronavirus disease. And they say that there are lots of people, about 800 deaths in total, that are from the coronavirus, which again is just proof that the right information is out there about coronavirus, like accurate, up-to-date information is out there, but even misinformation seems to spread much faster. And it has to do with these algorithms and what can happen. So with that being said, Facebook said that they share their goal of limiting misinformation, but their findings don't reflect the steps that we've taken to keep it from spreading on our service. Thanks to our global network of fact checkers, we've applied labels to about 98 million pieces of COVID-19 information and removed 7 million pieces of information that could lead to imminent harm. Still, it sounds like a lot. And sorry for stepping on here, but like it sounds like a lot to say, we've taken steps for 80 million different sources of links and whatever. But again, they generated like 3.4 billion over the course of a year. They're not making a dent in this.
Right. Not even like close to it. It's nice that they're trying to do things, but they just, I don't know if there's even a way at this point. Frankly, it's the internet. There's both facts and non-facts all over the internet, and it just depends on which schmuck picks it up and sticks it on Facebook and how far it gets.
Well said. We don't use the word schmuck enough on the radio. So
word.
Yeah, very good word. So Carissa, of all the different stories that you kind of sent me, we have time for one more. Is there any that caught your eye in particular?
Where's my little chat box here? Folks here. The facial recognition one seems interesting.
Let's see if we can do that in the time that it takes. We're going to speed run this one. This is from SciTech Daily, a publication I don't think we've ever used before, but check this one out. A new software tool, Fawkes, cloaks your images to trick facial recognition algorithms. And I think that's something that, if you are concerned, it's definitely something that you can feel like, oh, hey, there's nothing that I can do about it, but maybe this algorithm can. And they even give some examples. I have no idea how this works, because if I'm being honest, like the original and the cloaked ones look exactly the same, which I guess is the point. You don't want images to look super distorted. You want them to look the same, but of course be non-identifiable. Now, let's go and talk about the methodology. They said that they found that the method was nearly 100% effective at blocking recognition by state-of-the-art models from Amazon, Microsoft, and other companies. While it can't disrupt existing models already trained in unaltered images downloaded from the internet, publishing cloaked images can eventually erase a person's online footprint, rendering future models incapable of recognizing that individual. Saying that in many cases, we do not control all the images of ourselves online. Some could be posted from public sources or posted by our friends. In this scenario, Fawkes remains successful when the number of cloaked images outnumbers the uncloaked images. So, and again, to kind of step back a little bit, let's see what makes it cloaked versus not cloaked.
It's a small filter on the photo almost.
Yeah.
But even so.
And by small, I'm sorry, but like even by small, just looking at these images, you can't even tell it's there. But I guess you could tell it's there if you're a computer. It would definitely do that. And they said that it would not be observable to the human eye, but it would protect it from unauthorized malicious stuff. Tricks deep learning computer models that power without noticeable changes, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, there you go. So essentially their goal there with that whole thing is to give people the ability to opt out and not just rely on these companies to do the right thing with their images. So, Carissa, music in the background means that we are done. Yeah, good show. Fun guest.
Oh, good show.
Good show indeed. And not just because because I was here, but hey, everyone, I think that today was a really good show. Join us tomorrow. For the rest of the week, we have later in the week, I know that we have an author coming on the show talking about the end of everything. Everyone, bring your science hat. That is, of course, about the heat death of the universe, all that and more. It's going to be a lot of fun. And also, we have a couple correspondents and more. Always things happening here at Computer America. Check it out. Until next time, everyone, have a great day. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Bye.